Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paramindful, a bi-weekly show where myself, Melball Collins, Carl fell down there, and Alex the werewolf somewhere over here where I can figure out. There we are. We come together and we talk about all things spooky-ooky-ish. This week we have a fun episode lined up for you guys. We have the Irish origins, the Irish lore origins here that we're going to be talking about. Not your typical Irish little leprechauns, though, that we're going to be talking about here, we me laddies. However, to get things rolling here, we got to ask Carl, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I will be doing even better if everybody goes back and watches the Tommy Knocker EVP that was put out. Make sure you're checking that out as well for us.
I was toying with the idea of like calling it something else, because to me it's funny if there's like 3 or whatever, 4 or 5, 11 of the same thing, but they're all called different things. You know what I mean? Like when Carl does it, it's an EVP, and when I do it, it's just whatever.
I gotcha.
Yeah, but I didn't do that, so.
Hey, it was a fun little episode there that the werewolf put out there on the Tommy Knockers, not knockers, you pervs.
Let me tell you this. I am no pervert.
Get your head out of the gutter. Unless you, I mean, there may have been female ones. We never know. We're not going to judge. You can do whatever you want down there. It's the underworld.
That's right.
Alex, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing wonderful. For those who don't know, which is probably everybody, I have a workshop in my garage, and it's finally empty of projects, which means I get to start new projects. So
Yay! New projects are always fun, especially when you make the mess.
Exactly right. Now I got to clean up the mess that I have right now first. But how are you, Mel?
Hey, I can't complain. It's been one heck of a week. I just finished a 2-hour recording on Japanese wrestling, so I can't complain about that.
Japanese
Wrestling. We had some crazy news coming out of New Japan this week, so we had to talk about it. Man, did we talk about it. We went on and on and on. You can look forward to a 2-hour show pretty much coming from Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk. But without further ado, we want to get into that spooky stuff here. Forget Japanese stuff. Although Minoru Suzuki is a boogeyman in his own right. We're going to be talking about Irish lore, but we're not going to be telling you about what you really want to hear about, which is like those leprechauns and the little pot of gold and all the wee lad stuff. No, nay. We are going to be talking to you today about some fun topics that we all picked to kind of present to you. We're going to be starting with Alex's topic, which is going to be about the fairies, the fairy folk in Ireland. But before you guys gotta get it twisted, we're not talking about, Tinkerbell, although I'm sure if we get into this and discuss it, we're going to find out Tinkerbell might be a little bit more malicious than she is portrayed as in Disney. So Alex, take it away with our fairy talk.
Yes. Well, obviously, fairy is the term that we always give to like the Tinkerbells. That's like the little floating, flying, butterfly-winged people. It's like an umbrella term, though. So it encompasses a lot of things. So the way they talk about it, what they call it is like the fae people. So if you were to take fairy and then get rid of the re part, it's just the fae people, which encompasses everything. Anyways, the Irish fairies, because we're rocking up Irish specifically, I should clarify that these are legendary creatures, and they are from multiple cultures, but it's usually multiple European cultures, which I have a theory of. And I think I told Mel that theory at one point. Maybe I told you too, Carl. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. The people watching don't know, so I'll tell you this theory in a second. So the Irish, they call them the good people, but it's usually in like Irish. So they call it Nadini Maha is what it's called. And that's how you pronounce it because I do my research. But yeah, they call them the good people. And for the most part, people think that they are benevolent, very, very kind, and like they're not going to hurt you unless you bother them. So the exact origins of the fairies as beings are not well known because, much like the game Telephone, it's an oral tradition that's been passed on, and things get forgotten over time or changed. But there's no exact beginning of like, oh yes, whatever, elves started here or dwarves started there. You know what I mean? So what else can I tell you? Fairies are there. It's like the whole thing is very interesting because if you know about fairy rings, for example, like mushroom circles in your backyard or in forests and stuff,
Right.
we look at it in North America as just being a pain in the ass. You know, like, oh shit, there's a mushroom circle. How did that happen? And it's really bizarre because they're a circle all the time. It's bizarre. However, tradition says that is where their villages are, underground. So it's like that's the indication that you are that there are elves underground in that area. Depending on who you talk to, the fairy rings can also be the entrance to those little villages, the fairy villages. There's also an interesting tidbit, a little like caveat to that. Some people believe that the fairy rings are actually like a portal to the fairy realm, and that if you step into these fairy rings, you're in the fairy realm and you can't get out. So once in the fairy realm, your corporeal energy, so your energy from the world, you start slowly dying because you're not in our world anymore. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I thought that was a cool little caveat to talk about. They, in theory, I mean, like I said, proof, I don't know if I have any, but they're said to live in underneath fairy rings, like I said. They're in woods, obviously, like forests and things like that, but like specifically hawthorn trees. And I find that really interesting because there's often like old creepy trees that are like, they never end up falling over, but they're dead. Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. So like all the leaves
I
are
call
gone.
them creepy trees, and I take pictures of them on every trip I go on.
Right. And it's just always, it's interesting to me. Anyways, they are fiercely protective of their homes, fiercely. So if people disturb a fairy ring or move a boulder that was part of their home or whatever, they will get their vengeance. And that's where it gets a little bit creepy. So I have here that infringing on fairy places is believed to infuriate them, and in retaliation they will cause trouble, but not like mischievous trouble, although that is also included. But it'll be like a lifelong bad luck streak. You know what I mean? Like you'll just bad luck forever and ever and ever. The interesting one that I thought here was there was something called a changeling. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a changeling. This is so creepy though. If you piss off a fairy, there is the thought that they can come in the middle of the night to a newborn baby and steal that baby.
And I'll get your baby.
Replace that baby with a fairy baby that looks very, very, very similar to the original baby, but just slightly off because they can't make it perfect. And who would ever know, because it's a baby, right? So the baby's brand new in somebody's life, right? So you would never know. And they're saying that like there's instances of where changelings have obviously not been known, and then all of a sudden these babies are talking like Latin or, you know, speaking French or just languages that they would never know, being able to do tasks that they would never be able to do, like blacksmithing or whatever, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, and then what they do with the babies is they take the babies to the netherworld, and Lord only knows. But there's just so much to the fairies that it's just I don't know where to go with it. So I'm trying to keep it like not vague, but like I'm trying to encompass all the ideas here. Otherwise, we'd be talking for 4.5 hours. So, but I have a theory, like I mentioned earlier, about fairies and why you tend to only hear about them in European cultures and like that side of the pond, right? Never really in North America. And my theory has to do with like energies, but like old energies, because like North America, South America, whatever, there's been people here for a long, long time, but it's not like that side of the world a long, long time. There's a lot of mysticism, lots of occultism, and all that stuff that's been building up for centuries and centuries and centuries. And I don't know, we don't have that here, and I think that maybe that's the reason why that they don't. Maybe they draw energy from the earth or whatever it be. So, anyways, I realized that wasn't really cohesive. It wasn't really in depth about one particular thing, but like I said, it's very difficult to go into one type because we'd be here forever, and we could make 3, 4, 5 shows about like elves alone, or you know what I mean. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I
So
have an interesting thought, maybe. I mean, fairies are they still considered to be the smaller little things that look like Tinkerbell? Like, or are they like a full-sized person?
Tinkerbell would be considered a fairy,
Yeah.
but it's like
But like, are there full-size fairies? Are there little, like teeny fairies, like Thumbelina fairies? Like,
so yes. The short answer is yes, but you will not find a fairy who's our size. They're all really miniature. So you'll
okay.
get and like I said, it's the umbrella term. So you'll get fairies, which we all think of like Thumbelina and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
But then what they class into this fey people is also elves and leprechauns and
Mhm.
gnomes and whatever
'Cause
cave
I've heard the
dwarves.
fae thing quite a bit, like in video game mythology when referring to elvish people. But
Yeah,
again, they are like full size, like you and I people.
right. And
Um,
it's like what a example is Legolas from Lord of the Rings, right? Full
mm,
size, looks like a human because
mm.
it's a human actor, right? So, but yeah, the Fey people or the Fey beings, I suppose, is probably a better way to describe fairies. Whereas
Okay.
like fairies are technically all of it, but
Okay.
it's used as kind of like a colloquial term for a specific type.
So
Okay.
something I was just thinking of maybe that I might want to propose the question to you guys. Do you think maybe that you mentioned energies and stuff, the old energy and that kind of old pagan energy really does almost originate in that European area.
Mhm.
But I've also noticed that in North America, like our superstitious stuff, it ain't small. Like it'd be big. Like we got
100%.
the cryptids, we got like the big supernatural mumbo jumbo spooky yuki stuff. Maybe do you think it's a possibility that despite their strength and despite the power that they clearly have to be able to kidnap newborn children and put a changeling in their place, do you think maybe that they're actually fright they might be here and just hiding really good because the spooky ooky ish that we have here is maybe a threat to them in some way?
Sure. I have kind of like a rebuttal to that, though.
Is that
We have a ton of space here, a ton of unoccupied space.
is it unoccupied?
Well, no, no, hear me out though. Like we have a ton of unoccupied space, so maybe throughout the eons or whatever,
Mhm.
our cryptids, maybe they were Fey people at one point, and then they evolved into. They have more space, they have more ability to do different things, and our
Mhm.
territory is a lot different than, say, I don't know, the Isle of Skye in Scotland or whatever. However,
Right.
you had mentioned pagan rituals, and then it popped in my head Hoyabashu, right? Because you had that
Mhm.
when we were talking about that when we did our video on that.
Mhm.
we were talking about the old ruins and stuff that were inside, right? Like we don't know how old they are, right? Because you can't carbon date rock. So
No, that's true.
Mhm.
That's true. Carl, what
maybe
do
it
you
all
think about all this?
maybe it all folds together.
It very well could all fold together, and I mean, we kind of answered a few of the questions that I had. I kind of wrote them down here. One of the ones was, are could any of us be changelings? Because if the fairies are taking, you know, a child and replacing it with, is that child not going to kind of grow the same as
I
we
can explain
would?
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I obviously didn't go into it, but I did read up on that.
Okay.
The what they are replacing the child with is not a baby fairy. It's not a baby changeling. It is a, for lack of a better word, a fully grown. It's just it takes the form of the child and then slowly grows. But it is, for lack of a better word, an old man kind of thing. So it's not actually you're not
Oh,
replacing with a baby. So if we were changelings, we would know. We just wouldn't be telling each other. So, ba-ba-bum.
Okay. No,
okay.
totally
Yeah, I was
under.
gonna say there's no way I am, because the amount that I fall down or up random things, or I only know one language and I barely know that one. So yeah, it's safe to say that this girl is 100% just human idiot. uh, That being said, though, you said that they're looked at in Ireland as being more benevolent, but then the things that you say, like, it seems very easy to piss them off. Just naturally with humanity, we just expand and overtake everything. Ireland obviously has not done that so much as we have here, but we do have fairy rings here. So hmm.
So, I can speak to that. It's it's effectively it comes down to a respect thing, right?
Mm,
I would never go on your front lawn and dig it up or rip it up or whatever because that's your front lawn, right?
mm,
So they look at it as being, hey, you know what, that's theirs, leave it alone. A great example is in places like what am I thinking here? Like the Norwegian places, like well, in Norwegian, that's one place, but like the Scandinavian countries, right?
like
Um,
Sweden?
what's that?
Like Sweden?
Yeah, there you go. They will build roads around giant rocks that they believe are homes to elves.
Mm-hmm.
They will
Okay.
actively go out of their way because, and I had read somewhere it was an article, and it was a large percentage of people believe that these beings exist, and it wasn't large as in like, oh, it's 15% of the population. We're talking like 78% kind of deal. Like that's how large, you know what I mean? It's
Wow.
very, very interesting, but they will not build they will not build roads through rocks. They will not move giant stones. They actually build little houses and leave them by trees in the thought that perhaps an elf would like to have a house by a tree. Kind of is very, very interesting. And like I said, it all stems to like a respect kind of thing. And I think it's like if your grandma was like, you know what, there are little beings. We might not be able to see them, but they are out there in the forest. So when you're in the forest, try not to yell. Just be nice. And if you find yourself a little bit scared, just talk nicely and just maybe whistle a tune and happy tune. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
so. But I thought of something. Um, I've always thought that these things exist, always. But they're this is gonna sound so lame. Um, when I was younger, so obviously you guys would have been younger too, there was a Spice Girls song where this dude was he was like running in the forest with his buddy or whatever. This was the music video, and I think he finds a box. A little hard for me to remember, but what I do remember is that the Spice Girls were basically um, portrayed as being fairies, and this kid at the end of it, they don't specifically say it, But this kid, I think he gets into the box or he just disappears or whatever it is, but he disappears. And that has always stuck
Oh,
with me.
Mama.
What's that?
Song was called Mama.
Was it?
I think so.
I have no idea. I don't remember. But it always stuck with me because I legit feel that there's where we live and there's the other realm of stuff, whether that's underground or whether that's on like a parallel kind of situation. I don't know, but it always stuck with me. And I actually, like, I legit wrote it down on my paper. I wrote Spice Girls. So
Because I can see the video and it's like, it's a ballad. I know it's not a peppy song. It's a ballad.
I'm going to Google it right now, actually, for you guys. I won't
I
play
think-
it or anything because
It was either Mama or Goodbye.
who knows?
Might have been Goodbye because I feel like there was a giant
Rather.
gumball machine involved. Anyway, the 90s. What a time.
I'm a Spice Girls fan. I like heavy metal and hard rock.
We are Motorhead! And we play rock and roll!
I think it's pretty safe to say that the three of us combined would sound like putting a playlist together would sound like the inside of a schizophrenic's head.
Yes.
While Alex is
Yes.
looking up on that, maybe we should feed into what Karl was talking about here, which was Eileen. Karl, do you want to introduce it? Oh, God, he found it. What did
Found
you
it.
find?
It's called Viva Forever.
Viva Forever. That makes sense. Yeah. Same album as
Okay.
Goodbye, I think.
Sure, but yeah, I mean, like even
That was a
this
good
theme-
song, actually.
I don't remember it, to be honest with you. But what I do know is that the explanation for it right here is like the Spice Girls are all actually fairies. They're what appears to be claymation fairies. I don't quite remember, but that's the picture that I'm seeing here.
Mm.
And that they actually describe themselves as fairies emerged from a plastic container, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good song. That was a very good album, actually. I think that was one of their first albums after Jerry had left.
I think it's actually a award-winning one. I know Jerry's in this one.
She is in that one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Before, yeah.
Interesting. Now that we're talking about the Spice Girls.
Right?
Bye-bye, Paramindful. We're talking Spice Girls.
People of the word, spice up your life. So from here, we're going to go into what Karl had brought up, because Karl, you had wanted to talk about a specific individual who would be kind of considered one of the fairy folk. So Karl, why don't you take it away there?
Sure. And when I do, after I'm done with my little spiel that I have got here, I have a question for you guys about something that Alex talked about and mentioned that's kind of got my head thinking a little bit here. Anyways, we're going to talk about somebody named Eileen Og Fitzgerald. So the Fitzgeralds were just and fair rulers. Their tales exude from the lips of those in the area of their heroism and generosity. For many years, the Fitzgeralds were the power over the Killamagura in the County Cork. Most of the history behind them is a peaceful and quiet nature. There is one tale of lore that casts a shadow upon the Fitzgerald name and the area, like usually happens. That being Eileen, daughter of a rumored Cid, or one of the fairy folk, who actually grew to an immense size from the moment she came into the world. She was said to have been of the Great Woods, or Kylemore, because of her strange size and her, like, wild ways. You know, you got to figure she's a really, really big, huge teenager who's going to just run rampant, right? Some people would have called her mischievous for the influences she had over the warriors of the clan, of her clan. Fierce and restless, she would coax them into raiding nearby farms and settlements. Anyone standing in her way would suffer agony of death at the swing of her great hammer, knocking their heads clean off with a home run style hit that would send their heads soaring over the trees.
Nice.
After the destruction from the warriors and herself, she would carry away anything that wasn't nailed down, and she would put her mark on the land. The mark is still something that has not been seen by the visible eye, but definitely has been felt for many years. Everything that she gained and all the treasures that she acquired were buried in the fortress of her family, which she ruled with an iron fist. It is said that with all the power and fear that she so evilly portrayed, that she actually didn't live very long. Was it a natural death due to her unusual size and growth? A vengeful warrior? Or maybe a jealous lover? Who knows? Because that's actually never been told. After her death, when the nights grew dark and the winds howled from the west, the people of Killamagora would take extra caution, close up their windows and doors extra tight for fear that her ghost, who could be seen wandering the lands that she had previously plundered, still staking her claim on the areas even in death. They say that once evil in life, you are also evil in death, and with that, so was Eileen. Reports of her spirit and ghosts say that in death, she was relegated and condemned to wearing only a thin cloth dress and appeared as an old, frail woman with no strength left in her. Shivering in the cold night air, her feet were seen as those of sheep with hooves at the end of her legs.
Interesting.
For the non-locals in the area who dare to speak with this spirit when it is seen, generally the question is, why are you trapped in such a state? And her answer may actually come as a surprise to a lot of people. Her answer simply says, for my cruelty in oppressing the poor, for forcing them into performing weighty tasks, and for depriving the poor widow of a milk from her 5 sheep, my feet are deformed, and I am thus doomed to perpetual motion until the day of judgment. When you ask the locals what they fear about her wretched from wandering forevermore, they're likely going to fall silent and look away in fear and become pale to your visible eye. So that's the lore, the tale of Eileen Fitzgerald. The question that I have, so Alex, you were talking about the fairy rings.
Yeah.
And talking about how they could, some say that they could be a portal, which got my mind thinking, because this woman was a giant. What is Stonehenge? Could that possibly be as well a portal, but maybe to a land of the giants as opposed to a land of the fairies?
Let me go further with that one.
Okay, please do.
And say that Stonehenge is not the only henge in Europe. There are several. That's just the most well-known, right? So,
right.
Maybe we're discovering things right now. Shit.
I don't know. Right? Your talk of the fairy rings really had me thinking there, and I'm like, they're all in a perfect circle. They're so large that who could have moved those? Well, a freaking giant could have moved those.
And there's no mushrooms that big, and I mean, like,
right?
Not that we've discovered yet.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting also, I mean, that she probably comes from a time very similar to like maybe Medusa, where people were physically punished for whatever it is that they did. I mean, Medusa, she was just flirtatious, but like, Eileen was a cruel individual and ended up with sheep feet. I mean, can ask Alex and myself. We certainly don't trust the goats. So, having goat feet, I am probably not going to trust you. Definitely didn't think I thought this was going to be a heartwarming story. The hero Eileen, the giant. No, she sounds like a bitch.
Right. And I think it really comes from her being a teenager and being different and being scared. right? And maybe because of that, she's like, no, I can't be scared anymore. I have to take control. And taking a little bit of that control had all of the clansmen kind of going, yeah, I'm not messing with this woman here. And that's kind of maybe where she got her powers from, is that she was just a pissed off teenager who decided to go on a tangent.
The power of ego.
I find it interesting that um, she's aware of why. You know what I mean? It's not like she's wandering around cursing people because she died young. Or she's just like, no, legit, I was a bitch, so that's why I got the hooves.
Right?
I've had a couple thousand years to think about what I did.
I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty interesting because you don't normally hear of not self-aware. That's not the word I'm looking for, but like a former evil person,
remorseful.
Yeah, who's like, shit, I really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the key word there,
this one, so
person. Eileen really wasn't a person, right? She was a fate. So
right?
she has something that humanity maybe lacks in that.
We lack a lot.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that makes me go off into a random pathway here, coming back to our North American cryptids. If Eileen had cloven feet because of her life of shittiness, what the hell are the lizard people?
See, can of worms. I appreciate the fact that you are going on the tangent and it's not me who's going on the tangent.
I mean, to think about it, right? I mean, if that's the case, and you get physical, punishment for being a bad person, what is a werewolf?
I think, well, I mean, clearly it's me.
Besides cursed. Where did the original curse come from?
I think that lizard people is going to take a whole show on itself. Like,
yes.
But I don't think that it's this type of case. I don't think it's someone being a bitch and then I have theories.
What about some of our once-off cryptids? Like the ones that seem to just have a singular cryptid of existence. Is there a possibility that this could be just a tormented or tortured person or a fey person that was turned into the cryptid or whatever because of their evil in life?
Sure. Because like the one that's off hand right now that I can think of is the Loveland Frogman. The dude that looked like a frog.
Yeah.
I mean, sounds a little bit far-fetched for me to wrap my brain around, but it was witnessed by several people, including police. So
interesting.
Yeah. That's a whole different story, though. Maybe I'll do an EVP about weird cryptids or something.
About weird stuff. I mean, and the world just full of weird stuff. From here, I would like to quickly, because we are running out a bit of time here. The topic that I picked to talk about was the Banshee, and the Banshee, very interesting kind of thing, because it's been portrayed as the things that we have that Alex has talked about with the fairies and Karl. I mean, giants are certainly portrayed in a very different kind of set in pop culture and stuff like that. The Banshees, especially, whenever I've encountered them in any kind of pop culture, they're considered to be not only evil, but they are, death givers. They give you the death that they are warning you about. Very sensationalized, usually very scary. Like, I can remember playing God of War and killing many a Banshee who's screaming at me. And, the point is to break them over your knee or whatever. I don't remember what it was that Kratos did. He's so violent. Who knows what it was?
The gods demand sacrifice.
But anyway, moving on to what it is the Banshees really were. They were a female spirit in the Irish folklore, but they were the heralds of death. They are not the givers of the death. They are the warners. They are the announcers, or the essentially we are just letting you know someone is unwell in your household. or in the city. They're typically, obviously, the typical banshee thing. They are known for their screaming, their wailing. You can hear them across the moors, as it will. A word that also was used is keening. That was one I hadn't heard before. The keening women who come and mourn or sing at the death of a family member, typically in the Irish kind of tradition. The banshee is also referred to as a keening woman. Um,
Okay.
so again, she is meant as a warning. She comes as a way to let a family know that, again, a family member is going to pass, but offers help to that family member in the process of their death or dying, whether they have some unresolved issues that they need to take care of before their death. They're also meant to help guide them to their final resting place once they have passed. So they're meant to take them and direct them to, this is the good place you go or the bad place you go, depending on what it was you were in your lifetime. She is usually seen as a woman with long streaming hair, either black or red, depending on what area you're in. She wears a gray cloak or a green dress. And often has red eyes from continual weeping. So they're not like glowing, intimidating, scary red eyes. They're bloodshot from the amount of crying that she has been doing.
Bleed.
So I bring that up because in a lot of movies and again television, pop culture, you see them with those burning red eyes, but they're glowing, they're intimidating, they're frightening. The banshee in real life is not this at all. It's literally just a very sad person who's sadly having to continually make other people sad by letting them know that their family members are no longer going to be around. Um, they've also said that she would sing to family members who are both near and far away. So, upon the death of an individual, a banshee would actually communicate to the family members in the other households that are maybe not as close to let them know that a family member has passed, whether it's in another city, an area, kind of like that. Um, it was meant as the first warning of mourning for that family, for the individual. Um, so, yeah, she also tends to show up when people are about to enter a situation that they are not likely to come out of. Men going off to war, going off to a bad business meeting, maybe even an accident. She just knows. It's almost like she's a psychic spirit. Um, she also says that she will lament to the descendants of certain houses. They said that I don't know how to say this properly, but the pure Milesian, Milesian family of Ireland, as well as the families that are prefixed with the O or Mac, so O'Malley, McNally, something like that. It was said that these families specifically had their own banshees that were actually with their entire line of family. Um, and when several banshees would appear, which was apparently very rare, but it did happen, it meant that someone of great holiness was about to pass, like a pope or a bishop, cardinal, something like that. Um, the tales have been recounted that they were also referred to as fairies. They were considered a kind of fairy folk or fae folk. Specifically, they were created potentially with a mother, the death of a mother, whether it be from just a natural mother birth or a mother who who died during childbirth. Um, but yeah, again, these have often been vilified again in pop culture. But in my research, I haven't actually found anything that said that these banshees were harmful to anybody. It's almost like just because we just don't know about them, humanity immediately wants to be fearful of it and what it is that it's, projecting into the world. But it's very obvious to me that the banshees aren't evil characters or spirits at all. They're more guiding. They're almost I would say, a more humane kind of spirit to kind of help with arguably the most difficult portion of life. Guys, what do you guys think about this?
It sounds to me like they're the town crier.
Hear ye, hear ye! Ye old town crier proclaimed crappy by all!
Or the air raid sirens.
You've made me 1930s work whistle angry!
So to speak, that would kind of be there to warn and help out. And I think that's pretty cool. One question I have through all of your research, is it that sexist? Are there no male banshees, or are they all female?
They're called Banshees.
Okay.
They're just not as, I don't want to say popular is the right word, but they just aren't seen as much. Very much like the succubus.
Okay.
There's the incubus and the succubus, but more people know about the succubus than they do the incubus, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
something I also noted that I kind of thought that they almost kind of seemed like, it's almost like a Valkyrie that
Yeah.
kind of sits over the battlefield and takes the dead of the fallen soldiers. But like, she's almost like, I know you gonna die, and then when you die, we're gonna guide you. Like, it's almost like she's kind of like a step up on the Valkyrie, in that she's kind of got that prediction that
So like
the
a
Valkyries
respite worker.
don't have.
So everything I've ever read about the Banshee, or Banshees, I suppose, was that you never wanted to see one because when you see one, you die.
Mhm.
But everything I've ever read, like I got books on the floor right now actually about it,
Mhm.
have told me that like when you see it, you're effed. You know what I mean? Like there's,
Mhm.
if you came across somebody dead in the hallway, it's because they saw a banshee and they died right there on the spot. You know, they were that terrifying,
Interesting.
almost like a Medusa, but Medusa would turn you to stone. A
Yeah,
banshee.
yeah.
So this is completely new to me. I went with
Yeah.
old school. Yeah,
I
interesting.
had also heard the same thing. I was quite terrified of banshees, and especially again as that they have been portrayed in culture and pop culture in particular. I was very, very fearful of them. But according to what I've researched, if you do encounter one, it could potentially be heralding your death or somebody else's. She
Right.
does, from what I understand, sort of communicate that to you, but not in like a direct, like, hey, you're gonna die kind of way, but like, yeah, from what I researched, if you come across her, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are gonna die. It does mean there's going to be a death, and she is that herald of that death. But maybe if you see her and you don't die, it's one of those things where maybe you're meant to guide the person dying,
Hmm.
or something like that. You're intricately involved in that person's death.
Right.
Okay. So
So
there's a few things I want to say.
go for it.
Because in these books, and I mean, this could just be these books. I have no idea because that's all I know about the Banshees is from these books. It was like you'd see this beautiful woman or whatever, or you would see a woman crying, and the minute she would turn around, it would be like a regular face, then all of a sudden completely change to scary as hell. However, you had mentioned the Valkyries. For those who don't know, they are women in Norse mythology that would usher people to either Ragnarok or not
Valhalla.
Valhalla, or not Ragnarok. Ragnarok's an event to Valhalla, or the other one. There's two.
Or go to Eileen's place, which is your name.
There you go. What I was gonna say was it kind of I'm gonna use the word stinks, but I don't mean it in a bad way. But it kind of stinks like religion, because, and I realize that sounds terrible. Let me explain. In Catholicism, there is Azrael, who takes people to heaven. He's the God's Grim Reaper, if you will, And then Satan's Grim Reaper has a different name. I really don't like to say it, so I don't know. It's just one of those.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah. So
Don't invite it in.
what's that?
Don't invite it in.
Yeah, no, I don't like to say because just in case. But they each have their own Grim Reaper, and that's kind of like what this is. You know, it's like, hey, I'm here to usher you because sometimes it's difficult to find the light or whatever. You know. So
Yeah, that's pretty much what it almost kind of sounds like. It almost like they're a guiding light for the end of they're your chaperone for the end of your life kind of thing.
bus driver.
I mean, and what a bus driver. I mean,
Better fasten your seatbelts, little dude.
We don't have seatbelts.
Well then, just try to go limp.
you would rather have a pretty lady, right? Unless you're a pretty lady, and then you probably want, Magic Mike.
Hey, man.
Whatever works. Well, guys, do you have anything else left you want to add to the Irish lore kind of mythology episode we got going on here? Because we are running out of time quickly.
No, I personally, I'm good. I think that this was a great episode, and for everyone just to continue on the research on your own. And if you guys come up with anything on your own and want to share it with us, down below in the ticker, paramindful@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know what you guys think and what research you guys have found to come up with.
Absolutely. You can also hit us up in the comments. One of us will talk back to you. I'm always on there. I'm Chatty Catty. You want to talk some spooky ooky-ish, I'm on there.
So we got a little bit of time here. I'm actually going to say it. Satan's Grim Reaper is Samael, which is one of the names that has been thrown about in exorcisms and things, which I find very interesting. The other thing is 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So the pale horse, Thanatos. I was gonna say it sounds like Marvel, but it's Thanatos who rides the pale horse, and with the pale horse rides death. If y'all know, if you don't, listen to 4 Horsemen by Metallica, or there's a Johnny Cash tune called "When the Man Comes Around," also a great tune.
Oh yes,
Check it out. I just find it very, very interesting. The whole Banshee thing. Sorry, I'm still going on this because it's shit that I didn't know, but like all these pieces have just kind of fallen into place right now, and it's just very interesting for me. Sorry.
Hey, that's what we like to do here on Paramindful, is we like to make the pieces fall into place,
And you
or
got
we
your-
just like to throw the puzzle all over the room.
And you got your religion lesson as well.
right?
That's the
Yes.
puzzle going all over the room.
I can't say that the Marvel character Thanos was named after Thanatos, but
We're just saying it's sus.
I'm gonna bet it was.
It probably was pretty close, if not the inspiration.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Anyways, I just thought I'd mention that. I thought it was kind of interesting because death rides. If you were to read the Bible, it's in Revelations.
Revelation 6, I believe ish.
Sounds so ridiculous, but with the pale horse rides death, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me.
Everything all comes together at the end of these shows. I tell you, we only had minor technical difficulties.
But I didn't freeze this time.
That's right.
That is true. That is true. We weren't talking about the doll.
Exactly
So,
right.
yes, that's probably why, because every time we mention the doll, you freeze.
Kept his name out of my mouth, and I didn't talk about Annabelle. Son of a bitch.
Everybody make sure to check on Alex a Werewolf this week. Make sure he didn't join Zach Bagans in the zappy stuff. So that being said, it sounds like we're coming to the end of our episode here, you guys. We want to bring your attention to our amazing sponsor, which is Rogue Energy, an amazing energy drink, hydration, and protein providing amazing company, which we are lovely sponsored through our local establishment here. They have a ton of different flavors to give you, and we're going to have Karl tell you exactly how many and which are coming out. Karl, let us have it.
There is about this many.
Always gotta love that video. That's
Right.
cookies and cream, you guys. When you make it with milk, it tastes really good. Don't make it with water like this girl did. It doesn't taste particularly
Oh,
good.
no. Ew.
And just because I didn't say it before, if you use our promo code OLEPODS, you get 10% off of your order. You want to pick that up because that grape popsicle stuff is on fire. And Karl, you have some amazing news to share with us about our Paramindful merchandise. Why don't you take it away there?
Definitely do. You guys can check us out on Redbubble. Down in the banner below, you can see there is a long list of numbers there that you can put afterwards, or if you just simply go to karlcarafel.redbubble.com, it's available there for you too. There are so many different products when it comes to the Paramindful merchandise, from stickers to coffee mugs to water bottles, shirts, hats. So much is available over there for you. You can go and check out all of that. Hit pause, take down that link there, take you directly to, or you can just search it karlcarafel.redbubble.com.
This Melball will also make sure that that link is in the description box for your convenience to easily just clickety-dickety take you off to that new little website there. If you're wanting to follow our local establishment, we will have the lovely werewolf put all of our social stuff up right now. You can find them on Twitch. You can find them on YouTube, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Look up our local establishment. You're going to find all the amazing stuff that we have available for you there. That being said, also, we can throw up Karl Carafel's link tree here if you want to follow Karl and all the amazing things that he is doing. He has so much stuff there on Turnbuckle Talks, man. You got unboxing, you got the Raw Watch Along, you have beats and beatdowns that you're doing with Bobby. You have what else? We got
The Bo's Nest
Paramindful.
with Bubba Duke, Paramindful, sometimes some Magic the Gathering stuff, and a new rock and roll type of show that's going to be coming out soon as well.
Yes. Look forward to it, as the Japanese wrestling likes to say. Alex, your socials are going to be coming up now, my friend. You've got YouTube stuff that you've been doing. When is your next video coming out?
Whenever this one posts. No. To be honest with you, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, my shop has been quite full of stuff. So now that it's empty again, I can start working on my motorcycle again. So wait, you can, and we'll have a video soonish. Whereas with the movies, I haven't been inspired. So
We also need the snow to melt so that you can ride the motorcycle.
this is also true. But whereas with the movies where I review movies, I got literally, if you were to look over here, I got, I don't know, a stack like that big of reviews all written out and stuff. I just haven't brought myself to record them yet. I don't know why.
We got to get on you for that.
Yeah.
And again, if you're wanting to follow a Melball, post all the socials up there. You can find her on our local establishment with the Paramindful crew. Every once in a while, you can find me popping up on Turnbuckle Talk with Karl when I feel that I can talk about the topics that you have, because you have a nice mix of variety of content on there. Sometimes your girl feels clueless.
Yeah, well, hopefully you learn a little something.
Hey, I always do when I watch Karl. You can also catch me on Astra Pizarro's YouTube. The Ladies Wrestling Showcase happens every 2 weeks. We have to delay our episode this week because the lovely Astrid has abandoned me as in London. But, power to her because she's getting some amazing experiences out there. Hopefully she can get herself some bangers and mash.
Oh, we're talking about the good London.
Yeah, the good London. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The good There's a bad London?
Yeah, in Ontario.
Yeah.
Yo, my sister lives there.
Yo,
Like I said, bad
get
place.
her out.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to save her. Lynn, get out here.
Lynn,
That
get out
being
here.
said-
Come on, Lynn.
Yeah, I have a room. Anyway, I am coming to the end of the episode here, you guys. That down there is Karl. Over there is Alex the werewolf. Pay attention, Alex. We will see you next time.
Hold
Keep
on.
it spooky.
No. Hold
What?
on.
What?
I have a list of other Londons.
We have more Londons?
Oh, yes.
Are we Fergie? How come every time you come around my London?
You ready? We got a London in Serbia. We got a London in France.
That's
London
ironic.
in Svalbard, Norway. Obviously, London, Ontario. London Island in Chile, etc., etc. Oh, there's one in Arkansas, California, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Texas, West Virginia, Wisconsin. There's one in Kiribati. And there's an asteroid in space called 8837 London.
Wow.
Until next time.
Keep her spooky.